And I think we're live. We are trying to, we're trying to almost break stuff here on the After Hours Agility show. We've got a new setup. We've got some new things to talk about. We're trying to break the internet each and every time we put on a show, but we've got a different camera that we're using, but we're hoping that we can make the After Hours Agility just as much fun as the train station. And I have a couple of little things that we're going to test out to see how that works for us tonight. But if you're just jumping in onto the stream tonight, we're going to be talking about some trial preparation and some of the training that you'll do after your dog agility trial. And if anybody out there has competed in a dog agility competition, you'll know that there can be some challenges the couple days leading up to your event, as well as a couple of days after. Now, you just came back from a competition. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was at the Ontario Regional Championships last weekend with my dog Beeline. She's a little over 2 years old, 2.5, I guess she is now. And that was our very first big competition, and we were just sort of entering to see where we were at. We ended up doing really well. She placed second overall, which was cool. But I wanted to share with you some of the specific things that I do before a competition, especially a big competition. I do a lot of the same things for local competitions, but specifically if I'm entering a competition that I really, need to have a lot of good skill for like a long weekend. I have a game plan. I've developed this over many dogs that I've handled in the past. And I just thought it would be some good information to share with you guys in regards to what I do before a competition and what I do after a competition as well.
Absolutely. I want to say hello to everybody that is jumping in the chat. I see Dan, Jacqueline, Horse Lover, Alice McCord, SD Cruiser's back again. Nice. And actually, I'm going to use SD Cruiser's evening to see how our lower thirds are working. Okay, so one part of this we know is not broken yet. So I'm literally going to try to break this setup tonight, guys, to see how much we can get away with, what we can do, new features we can add. I have something really neat I want to show to you. Now, this is going to be a lower third. If you're watching on your phone right now, this isn't really going to be for you, but if you're watching on a computer or your TV, which we're getting a lot of people watching on their TV nowadays.
That's a great idea. Then it's like nice and big.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you can sit back, relax, grab a bag of popcorn, just hang out and watch the agility show. Absolutely do. But if you're watching this on anything other than your phone, I want you to take out your smartphone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, and I created this little thing. Now, you might remember QR codes from the days gone by. And QR codes are still pretty big in Europe. And if we have any of our
Coke uses them a lot, and
friends, well, yeah, products still use them for sure. Yeah. But in terms of social, they're not quite as popular anymore, except over across the pond. In North America, they're not as popular. However, this QR code, if you haven't joined our free mystery box workshop, if you click this QR code with your camera, you just point your camera at it. If you have an iPhone, you'll see the thing come down. You'll be able to, join our free workshop. Our free workshop, the next episode launches. The new mystery box comes out in like 3 days. What's today? The 28th?
Yeah.
So how many days are in May?
31.
So in 3 days, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And our mystery box is it's regular dog training. So it's not specific to agility per se.
Absolutely.
Every month it's something like totally different. So even if you're not specifically into agility, the mystery box, really, there's something for everyone. It's all about dog training and learning new things with your dog.
And it's also a mystery. So it might be trick training. It might be, some fun exercise you can do with your dog. It's all about
like a control skill.
Yeah, totally free. And it's you got to get in there. I don't want to reveal too much, but I'm really excited about especially this upcoming month. I've just edited the video. It's our director of online training, instructor Shannon creates sets out what's going to be in the mystery box workshop, and I edit it, and I'm pretty pumped about you guys getting a chance to do it. So if you're not in that group, try the QR code. Let's try to break the internet. Let's see if this works. Now, if you're on a Samsung device, I see our moderator man, Dan Luton, is in the chat. He and I were testing this today, and if you're on an Android device, I think you might need to download an app. I'm not sure. He had some troubles with using the camera, but this is why we're testing it out. Now, you'll see that over the course of the night. So if you didn't get it now, or you can watch the replay and get it then. Let's talk about some dog agility training. Tonight we're going to talk about your pre and post competition training that you can do with your dog. I'm Ken Steep.
I'm Kayl McCann.
And welcome back to McCann Dog. So we have a little bit different setup. I've got the big camera there. Kayl's going to do some. Let's give a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight in the after hours agility.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I do about a week or so, maybe a little longer, that I do to prepare for an agility competition or agility trial. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do and demonstrate with you some of the things that I do training wise with my dog. We'll show you here in our beautiful agility arena.
Yeah, you guys can see it behind us.
Yeah. And then I'm also going to talk to you about some of the things that I do after a competition and how that sort of helps me to maintain good skill and success from my dog competition after competition after competition, because it's a long haul.
Yeah, I see some lots of people are chiming in on the chat. Looks like the QR code is working. NZL Rider mentions that there's an app, I think, that will work. I see some familiar names here in the chat. I see Sue Bricker. Hi from New Jersey.
Hi, Sue.
I
love Sue Bricker.
Amity Fox said something interesting. She said, "Hey guys, been waiting to catch an agility video. I grew up in the dog show circuit and always snuck away to the agility." Oh, didn't it? I'll try it again. Oh, there we go. Hey guys, been waiting to catch an agility video. I grew up in the dog show circuit and always snuck away to the agility ring. And it's a continued thing, but I get it, because I first started doing dog agility, or started doing dog obedience, and I'd see everybody over here in the agility training facility, and I was quite envious. I wanted to get my black lab at that time, Deegan, out to try some agility. And
that's where all the excitement is.
Yeah, and I got out and I'd go to the McCann Dog shows when they were doing shows like at the Sportsman Show and all over the place in Ontario. And I was excited to get her to that point. And maybe 2 years later or a year and a half later, I was out there competing in the Sportsman Show, doing some of these fun things.
Yeah.
But tonight we're going to talk specifically about trialing, and what you talk about the trial that you just came back from, what it involved, how long it was.
Yeah, so it's just at the Ontario Agility Regional Championships for Western Ontario, and it was basically an event where we are qualifying to compete at the National Championships, which is in Barrie, Ontario, in August. So I was there along with 4 of the McCann Agility coaches, and about 15 of our students were there competing as well.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, lots of different breeds: Papillon, Springer Spaniel, Border Collie, Golden Retrievers, all kinds of different breeds. Jack Russell Terrier, and we were all competing for this big event. And this event is it's a longer event, so it's 3 days long. Friday is sort of a warm-up day, but they have other classes as well that you can compete in. And then it's a weekend where you practice you run in 3 different runs on Saturday and Sunday. So the events that they focus on are standard, which is an agility competition that has all of the pieces of the equipment in it. It's sort of your run-of-the-mill course. A jumpers course, which doesn't include any of the contact obstacles or the weave poles, which you'll see what contact obstacles are later if you're not familiar, if you're newer to agility. And then last but not least, a course called Gamble, where you're basically gambling your chances, where your dog has to perform a series of obstacles in a sequence with you behind a line. So your dog has to work at a very long distance. The dog has to work independent of you and go more on your body cues and your verbal commands. So that one's really challenging as well. So you compete in all 3 of those events both days, and they basically tally your scores up from all 6 events and bring them together to find the overall winner. So yeah, it was a great event. I was competing with my young dog. It was maybe her 3rd trial ever. I just thought, we're going to go for it. And she ended up doing really, really well.
Yeah.
But I think part of her success is her training and all of the time I've spent training her to do the individual obstacles and how I prepared her for the competition. She's really green. Thank goodness I'm really experienced. So that was sort of a nice combination, I suppose. But there was a few things that I specifically focused on before going to the competition that I feel made my life and her life a little bit easier this weekend.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important. One thing I will mention, especially for those of you who are like, oh, I don't know if my dog's ready. You went in, you had trained B extensively. You were very confident that she was going to, be able to compete.
Yeah,
Be out there
yeah.
and all the skills were down, your connection was good, lots of training, but you had no expectations.
No, she absolutely is very highly trained. I train with her at an international level, even at her age, because we've just sort of worked through a lot of that stuff together. But what she does lack is experience, and she hasn't really done a lot of competing. This particular event had 3 rings going at the same time. It was a busy building. There was like birds flying through the rafters.
Yeah.
There's loudspeakers. There's just a lot going on. And for a dog that's young, I just didn't know how she would handle all of that. And the one thing that I knew that I could control, because I couldn't really control the environment, was the amount of pressure I put on her. And I've done a lot of competing. I've competed in 15 world championships, and I know what it's like to compete under a lot of pressure, and it's pretty intense. And that's not something that I'm really interested in exposing my young dog to at this point. So my goal was to go in and have very not low expectations, because I certainly don't want to do anything with low expectations,
Right.
but I had very free expectations. And I was just, I wanted to go in and feel connected with her. I wanted to feel like we were on the same page, and whatever the outcome was, that was going to be good enough for me. And it worked out really well.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about those couple of days leading up to the event.
Yeah, I wrote some notes because I didn't. There was quite a few here, and I didn't want to forget any.
Oh wait, before we jump into that, I see some people that are dropping some stuff into the chat. Hi from PA. Let's do a little roll call. Now I don't have an amazing animation yet. Maybe you guys can give me some ideas of what I should create, and I've got something in my mind that I think Kayl will really enjoy when we're doing our roll calls. But let us know where you're from. Shout out in the chat. That's always fun to see where people are joining us from. I see from New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I saw an interesting one, and it may have passed us by now. But I remember thinking, oh, that's so neat. I don't remember now. Oh, from Singapore. Yeah, BP Lim is
nice.
joining us from Singapore. So welcome to the After Hours Agility. So let's get right down to business here.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about? What about those couple days leading up? Oh, here we go. So Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, Kingston. I know we've had a few people joining us from Ontario, and it's exciting to see that.
Shandy Blake.
Yeah.
Hi, Shandy.
Tacoma, Washington. Yeah, Alice is often in the chat. It's good to see you, Alice.
Oh, nice.
Jacqueline from Southern California, New Zealand. So we have SD Cruiser and New Zealand Rider. Maybe we can all go riding sometime. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Okay, so let's. I'm just going to cut us off there really quick because I'd love to get into the content. What are those couple of days leading up to the event like?
Yeah, so usually like a week or two before a competition, I'm starting to, maybe even longer than that, I'm starting to really think about what I want to be doing, what my training plan is. So one of the things that I'll do is I will research the judges that will be at the event, and I will make sure that I'm familiar with their courses, with their style, if they have any, challenges that they tend to do very often.
Mm-hmm.
I will research that. A week or so prior to this event, all of our students that were competing in this particular event, we got together and we trained on courses that were going to be of the same style as the competition this weekend. It's not really a style of course that we do very often, so we wanted to make sure that we were familiar with it. I'll also study course maps online, and I'll just take a look again and see if I notice any trends so that I'm prepared. And when I see the courses the day of the competition, there isn't something that's super surprising to me. The other thing that we'll also do is we will try different types of practicing. So sometimes I'll go in for a training session with the intention of just working on skills. Sometimes I'll go in the training session and I will focus on longer sequence running, and I'll focus on perfection and making sure that every little nuance is exactly how I want it to be. And sometimes I go in and my sole goal is to try to get through the course perfectly on the first try, and we call this clear round training. So basically some little faults we may let go. I should explain what we mean by fault. So if it's like a wide turn or something like that, we'll sort of muddle through and try to just hold our self together for the entire time. Or the clear on training will be is if you go through and you make a mistake, you have to go back to the beginning of the course, and we'll put a timer on it. So obviously you and the dog don't get too tired, but we'll put 3 minutes on the clock or 2 minutes on the clock, and you see how far through the course you can get. And if you make a mistake, you have to go back in the beginning. And so what that does is teaches you to fight and stay focused throughout the entire course. So we did all of this stuff leading up into, this is weeks prior to the event. The other thing that we did is we trained a lot of distance work about a week before we went, so that our dogs were thinking about, you know, those types of skills that are needed for those classes. However, I happen to run a dog that loves to take obstacles. She's very fast. She's very open. So it was not in my best interest to do that style of training the week before going, because I wanted her to think about kind of toning everything down a little bit. So I sort of worked on a little bit of quieter training. I did a lot of contact training. I reinforced her for doing her criteria well. Another thing that I did is she has a running dog walk contact, and she also has a target contact. And I had decided prior to going that I was going to only focus on the target, because I wasn't sure about what the courses would be like. So I didn't put my running dog walk aside, and I focused on one thing, so I wasn't creating any confusion for her, which was really good.
Yeah. I just want to mention really quickly, sorry, to break it down just a little bit more, that clear round training can be like for both you and the dog. It puts a little bit more pressure on both of you. And you're trying to replicate
more
that
on you than the dog, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I think your intensity's higher, for sure.
For sure. I think for a lot of dogs, like my dog loves that type of training.
Yeah.
Actually, she gets a high off of it, because I'm running a little bit more intensity, but I think it's a great way, especially if you have if you're the type of person that struggles with competition, if your nerves can get the best of you. It's important to train through that. If you're not practicing in that type of setting outside of trialing, it's hard to get better. We like have fun bets that we put on the side, and we might bet for like a chocolate bar or something. That's not a big deal. Some people get really friggin' serious. Yeah,
you know what? That's about it. You're throwing down the gauntlet when you're talking about chocolate.
We just sort of push ourselves. We play loud music, or we heckle each other, like obviously all very friendly, but just to kind of get ourselves out of like that relaxed like class mode where people are a little bit more, you know, calm and not as stressed out, so that you're learning to deal with your emotions and deal with your stress. And for some people, that can really make or break how well they do at a competition. It has nothing to do with their skill level or their dog's ability or their ability. It has everything to do with your mental game. And especially when you get to the level of agility that I compete at, mental game is everything. So that's something you have to practice as well. The other thing that I think is really important to remember too, especially if you're the type of person that maybe goes to a lot of different seminars from different coaches or things like that, is you don't really want to be starting any new projects just before a big competition. This sort of brings me back to my whole contact thing. I didn't want to be trying anything new. You know, I wanted just to know what I was working with going into it. I'm not going to teach her to do something in, you know, a few days before a competition and then just throw her into the test and see how she does. I'm going to, you know, be aware of what my strengths and weaknesses are, and I'm going to play to my strengths at the competition. I'm going to keep my weaknesses in the back of my mind, and when the competition's over and I'm ready to start practicing, I'm going to make sure those weaknesses are not weaknesses for the next competition that I go to. So try not to start anything new before a competition. That's a really important thing as well. And then last but not least, and I'm going to get into some training in a second, I said reinforce my contacts. I'm not going to like run really hard and like really push the limits. I want her to hold her contacts, or I want to reinforce her for hitting really low on her running contacts. I want her to collect well. I want her to turn well. I want her to use her body well. So I'm going to reinforce her for all of those things. It's not about running the course and sequences right before a competition. It's about all the little itty bitty details that I want her thinking about and that I want her being reinforced for before I put it together in a competition. And then healthcare. That's a pretty important thing.
Sure, yeah.
A week or so before the competition, I took her to her chiropractor and I got her adjusted. I made sure her body was in great shape. We did lots of hiking, things like that. And then a day or two before the competition, we did nothing.
Yeah.
Rest and bubble wrap are very important. And we didn't do anything. We did like some just very casual walks, but I just toned it down and I just sort of let her rest and prepare.
It's so easy to overlook like the physical preparation that your dog might need, because I mean, for us, if you were going to do some athletic event over the course of a weekend, you would really be thinking about how you can be best prepared physically, you know, mentally, and it's so easy to overlook that.
Rested.
Yeah, for sure, and it's so easy to overlook that with our dogs to the same extent after the competition.
I don't know where my dog went.
I don't know where she's gone. After the competition, here she comes. You need to exercise that same caution and do things very intentionally so that your dog is recuperated and able to do more training in the weeks following after. Now, a couple of things that I think we're going to talk about soon. When you talked about contacts, are you going to show what are you about to show us here?
Yeah, so B finished her competition on Sunday. Today's Tuesday. I didn't do any training with her at all yesterday. We went on about a 40-minute hike. That's about it. That's all she did yesterday. So she hasn't done any agility, and I didn't want to like run her into the ground too much today. So what I thought I would do is just work on some contacts. Her contacts were pretty decent all weekend. I'm lucky, but she's pretty green. So I think more experienced dogs tend to have their contacts fall apart more easily than a baby dog does. But I want to reinforce her for her contacts. I want to work a little bit of jumping exercises where she's collecting and using her body well. Just little exercises. I'm not going to do a lot of coursing, sequencing today. I'm just going to work on individual things.
Sure.
That's my plan.
I want to mention Shandy Blake says, "Hi, help me not be nervous for my regionals in 2 days."
Oh,
this is a perfectly timed stream for Shandy.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit deep with you right now.
Yeah, no, for you who are new to agility, I mean, there are sort of varying levels of education that Kayl does, from brand new people to the sport all the way up to like international level competition. So our after hours agility streams, sometimes they get deep. We get really deep into dog agility, and I think this is going to be one of those moments.
Yeah. I really think that one of the things that I have learned, so I've been competing in agility since I was 6 years old. So that's a long time. And obviously I was just a little kid and I didn't know anything about mental game whatsoever. But I started to compete internationally in 2004. I was 18 years old. And it was difficult. I would often let the nerves get the best of me. But what I started to figure out is that when I was relaxed and like kind of not caring, and Ken will agree with this, I am an extremely competitive person.
It's unbelievable.
Really competitive.
Yeah.
So that can be great. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been so successful in the sport, but it also can ruin you, because if you are too focused on being competitive or doing well or worried about what people think and blah, 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 that is going to take you away from being present for your dog. So my absolute best competitions, and I proved it again this past weekend, is when I kind of didn't care. Obviously I do care, but when I took the pressure off myself and I literally I will do as well as I do, and I'm only competing against myself kind of thing, and I'm not so worried about what other people are doing. I don't watch other people's runs. I don't look at other people's scores. I just do me. And when I do that and I'm just focused on what I need to do and I don't get too in my head, that's when I run my best. And that's the advice I would pass on, is don't think about it too much. Don't worry about, in the moment, whether you're going to qualify for nationals or not. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. No, it doesn't matter. It's just an agility competition, and there's more exciting things in the world. It's one small thing. Of course you want to do it and it's great, but if you care too much about it, it sometimes doesn't happen as easily because you put too much pressure on yourself. So you just got to relax. It is what it is. And recover. Regionals, the advice I can give to you about regionals specifically is that it's a long haul. So it's not like a normal competition where you make a mistake and you get 5 faults, you knock a bar, and you failed that course and you're done. It's about the long haul. So if you make a fault in a course, that's only 5 faults, and you don't want to make that 25 or 35 faults. So keep your crap together. I would like to say another word, but I'm not allowed to. Keep your stuff together and just, pace yourself. It's a long haul. I had one not so good run with B. I got an off course and a knock bar or something. And I was a little bit disappointed, but whatever. It's not a big deal. But I just set it aside and I went on to the next course and I forgot about that one and I just moved forward. So those are a couple of little things hopefully that will help you.
Yeah, I see Madison Winters has also got regionals.
Don't take it too seriously.
She's got regionals in 2 days. So
it's just a game.
Train station buddies.
Here, B.
I see a good question here from Joanne Greco.
I know that name.
What would you start with first? My dog likes to still walk when she's pulling, but she loves playing. So Dan sort of summarized the question, like, how do you know when your dog's ready to compete?
Well, I don't know if I'm the best person to ask, or maybe I am the best person to ask. I'm not too sure. I typically don't compete with my dogs until they could run like a master's course. So they have good reliability in their skills. They don't get distracted in environments, so they can stay focused on me. Being high-minded, for some people who have dogs are high-minded, that's one thing. That's a different thing, and I wouldn't not compete unless I was not getting any success with that. But I would wait till you have a solid foundation, that you feel comfortable. People can ruin their dogs very quickly by trialing too early and too much. If you asked me out of an entire year how many competitions I attended, I would say on average 5. Would you say? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
About 5. And how many times do I train?
Like 4 times a week, or like?
Yeah, I would say 3 to 4 times. No, that's even too much. I would say 3 times maximum. And by training, I mean I take 1 class a week. That's an hour, and I don't train for the whole hour, obviously, because I got to take my turn. And then I train 2 other times, and they're usually for about 15 minutes. You're going to see, like, I'm going to train here. She's going to be gassed. She's going to need a break, and then we can try again. That's about all I do.
Yeah, Melinda Miller's got a question, but let's get into the training, and then we'll come back. Because Melinda, this is something that I know we'll talk a little bit more about it. But now we're going to go to the other camera. I'm going to do some crazy things with the computer. We'll see if it all works.
Okay, maybe I'll do some A-frames first.
Okay, well, so let's set up, what are you doing right now?
So I thought I would just work a little bit on my contacts. I'm going to reward her. So
this is pre-competition stuff?
Well, no, it's post-competition now, because I'm training her for the first time after competition. But the style of training that I would do would be exactly the same thing. Okay. So what I do now and what I would do just before competition. So this is what I would do like 2 or 3 days before I leave for competition. This is exactly the same training session that I would have, where I'm building her up. I'm trying to make her like high and positive and drivey for her job and enthusiastic and things like that. I'm not going to be harsh with her ever, really. But I'm not going to be nitpicky. I'm going to set her up to be successful. That's my goal, is to just get her feeling good about what she's doing.
Okay.
Attitude.
Let's head on over to the after hours agility.
Do you want me to start with the teeter-totter, maybe? What do you want?
Sure. Doesn't matter. We can go ahead.
Okay, come on, B.
I think everything's working. You guys, I'm pretty sure you can hear me. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so let me just explain a little bit about what I'm doing. So first of all, every single piece of equipment that I have, every command, whatever I have, has a specific criteria that I'm looking for her to do. And I try to be as black and white with my criteria because I think it makes it easier for her to understand what I'm asking of her. So for her teeter-totter, she's supposed to run to the very end of the board and ride it down, and her front 2 paws are supposed to hit the ground at the same time or even slightly before the teeter-totter does. And sometimes what I'll do to get her driving a little bit more is I'll put my target plate back in, which is how I originally taught her, and I'll just sort of warm up the end. So she knows the drill. I get her to jump on. I wasn't ready. Have fun. Ready, set, target. Yes, good. Target. Yes. Target. Yes. Okay, get it. And then when I reward her, I reward by throwing my reward forward to teach her to be nice and straight on the board. Good girl. Okay, try that again. Ready, set, up, 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 up. Ready, set, target. Yes, target. Yes. Yes, get it. Good girl. Okay, so I warmed that up. So now I'm going to do a couple teeters, and I'm looking for her feet to hit the ground before the teeter-totter. Get out, tunnel. Yeah. Beat. Go. Teeter. Go. Yeah. Target. Okay, get it. Yay. Good girl. So that was a really good one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test her ability to do the target without me helping her. So you may have noticed I ran up and I kind of stopped beside her, which would really assist her in doing it well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang back, and I want her to drive into position even though I'm not going with her. And if she does, I'm going to throw the reward forward, getting her to think more about doing it independently instead of with me. Get out. Ready, set, get out. Tunnel. Ready, go. Teeter. Go. Yes! Target. Good. Target. Okay. Yay! Good girl. So again, that was really well. I tested her ability to hold the contact, I threw the toy so that she wasn't coming off. So again, these are all things that I do to get her thinking about doing the behavior independently. So now I'm going to make it a little harder, and I'm going to run past the teeter, out, and I'm going to do a side change. See how she does with that? Go, teeter, try again. Yes, good girl. Okay, woo-hoo. Good. Okay, and I did like what, 5 or 6 reps there? They were all really good. I'm gonna go on to something else now so that I'm not harping on it. She did great, I'm happy with it, so I'm gonna move on. The next thing that I'm gonna do is work on the A-frame. Now you'll notice I have this little stride bar.
I'm gonna take this jump down.
Okay, yeah, sure. I have this little stride bar on the A-frame.
You might have to show it again.
Oh, sorry, right here. You might not be able to see it very well, it's very light in color. Now, the placement of it and the size of it is very specific. It's very, very, very skinny. It's only about a quarter inch round, it's really small, because I don't want it to be too noticeable. When I'm training my A-frame, I never use anything bigger than this. So, unless she's learning it. She knows the A-frame already, so this is what she has on all the time. My criteria is that she must get the A-frame with her feet below this slat. So if she touches anywhere above this part, even if it's in the yellow, I consider it a miss, so she's not allowed to do that. Now, again, to help her be successful, I'm just gonna do a little warm up where I'm gonna pre-place her toy. Okay, and I'm just gonna do the down ramp. She has a running contact, so it's different than the teeter-totter. Some people have a target on the A-frame just like they do the teeter-totter. I have a running contact, so the training is going to be a little bit different. Ready? She also has to focus forward at the toy. She's not allowed to look at me. So if she looks at me, I'm going to wait till she looks forward. Run! So I didn't like that. She hit the bar. And actually, this is interesting because, oh, good girl. This is something that she was doing a little bit on the weekend. She was hitting a bit high. So I'm really glad that she did that. Okay, come on, try again. Try again. Ready, set, run. Yay! There we go. Good girl. So that was a little bit lower. Yes. Okay, out. I'm gonna try again. Ready, set. I'm gonna change. Wait. I'm gonna change my position. Run. Yes. Yay! Good girl! Okay, out, one more. Up. I'm leaving her in different spots, so she has to think about what she's doing. I might switch spots and add a distraction. Hey, run! Nope. Good try. Hop up. Wait, so what I find interesting is this is the first time she's ever even hit the bar, but she's very new. But this is also the first competition where she's competed. Any trial I've ever done, she's only been in 2. She did 1 day, and she maybe did, I don't know, 1 A-frame or 2 A-frames. She did, I don't know, 10 or 12 A-frames over a series of 3 days. So that's why I've lost some of my criteria. So I need to go back right away and remind her what I'm looking for. So I'm very surprised right now she's doing as poorly as she is, but at the same time, I'm super glad. Because now I can work through it and I can make sure that she understands what I want of her. Mark, run! Yay! That's a good try! Woo! Alright, so now I'm going to build in the whole A-frame a couple times. Ready? Wait, you're so smart, little baby. Woo! Okay, go on. Yes, go frame! Run! Yes! Good! Yoo-hoo! So I'm looking for her to jump in that specific location. Good girl. Go. Ta-da! Okay, ta-da! Yes! Pow! Yes! Go up. Yes. Frame! Run! Yay! That was a super good one. Good girl! Yes! But you may notice the timing of my throw. I'm throwing it even before she gets into the contact, assuming she's going to get it. So her head stays nice and forward. Okay, we're going to do one more. Out. I'm going to try side change. That was good, Missy. Okay. Now are you ready? On your mark. Get set. Go, hop. Go, run. Yes! Beautiful. You're so smart. Yeah. Good. Who's a girl? Who's a girl? Who's a girl? Yes, good girl. Okay, out. Do you want me to keep going or do you want me to give her a break?
It's up to you, whatever you think.
Okay. Good. Okay. I'm gonna grab some treats. So that was really good. I'm happy with that. She made a few errors. Okay, come here. Now we're gonna do the dog walk. So she has two behaviors on the dog walk. She does a target and she also does a running contact. So I'm going to just do the target first, since that's what I did on the weekend. Okay, target. Yes, good. Now when I reward her, I'm rewarding her with her head down and away to reinforce her. Good. For not turning and curling back to me. Yes. So see how I feed her? Yes. Good. Yes. Good. Okay. Yes. Woo! Good girl. Okay, so now I'm going to take her in. Ready? Go up. In. Yes. Walk back. Target. Yes. Good. Good target. Okay. Again, I want her to maintain that target position until I release her. That was good girl. Yay. Now, one of the targets I really like to practice is having her drive down to the end of the target when I peel off to the side. I'm really glad that I did this before the competition because one of the dog walks had that exact exit and she did a really good job. So I'm going to give that a try. Ready? Here. Okay. Go hard. Right side. Go walk it. Go. Turn it. Yes. Good. Now see how her feet are a little bit crooked? Go target. Go target. Now go. Target. Go target. Yes. Good. So I want her to straighten out and then I reward her not for coming to me, but I throw the toy on the other side. Yes. To reinforce her. Good girl. Out. That was the best dog. Okay, and then I haven't done any running in a while, so I'm just going to do a couple of those. She hasn't really done them in, I would say, 3 weeks. Okay, so I'm just going to make it a bit easier. Okay, run. Good girl. Warm up a couple with the toy. Out. She's getting tired, so I'm not going to do too many more. Run. Yeah. Who's a girl? Who's a girl? Okay. Ready. On your mark. Whoo, she's cheating. She's a little cheating girl. Hold on. Yes, okay. Here. Go up. Yes. Walk it. Yes, good girl. You. Okay, one more, and then you can have a break. You're getting tired. Okay, out. Ready? Set. Okay, go. Ta-da! Go hop. Good girl. Yay! That's a good girlie. You're tired. You need a break. Good girl. Okay, I'm gonna give her a rest. Okay. Yay! Can you talk for 1 second while I get her a drink?
Oh yeah.
Okay, babe.
Gonna put our chairs back.
Yeah.
Gonna bring us back over to the after hours agility. I see a Tutor J, that's, you know what, you're right. Tutor J says, it makes me tired just watching her. I totally get it. Beeline is pretty darn speedy, and I think she would probably run until she fell over. So you especially after competition weekend, you do need to be a little bit conscious of that and be aware of your dog's energy level. Even though, especially with like some of these border collies, they'll just run themselves right into the ground. So be really conscious and aware of, Kayl's immediately taking B to get a little drink. You don't want to, allow her to drink too much water, but get her a little drink, allow her to rest. These short training sessions, we talk about this all the time. And whether you're training your dog in obedience or agility or another dog sport or whatever the thing is, you can overdo it. We want to focus on the dog's attitude throughout, whether it's teaching them to walk on a loose leash or you're teaching them to do some complicated dog sport skill. You really want to make sure that your dog is in the right frame of mind and is motivated, because motivation is so key. And you saw how easy it was, for example, to get Beeline to do another repetition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I have a dog that could live and breathe this sport. I think you were just talking about that. So she is very motivated. However, I'm very motivated in my training and in my interaction with my dog. And, I train with a lot of animation, with a lot of enthusiasm, because I want her to learn to do things fast and fun. So, I need to put the work in too. It's not because I need to get her more excited than she is, but I want her to know, hopefully you were able to see by watching me, like when I like something and when I really like something. So, I'm training her to understand what exactly that I want her to do. And I want her to know, how happy I am with when she does something extra well. So my reaction to her needs to show that.
Yeah, you can differentiate. We talk a little bit about this in some of our train station streams. When you can start to differentiate, when your dog has a real understanding of the skill, you can start to let them know when that extra effort was acknowledged, and they've done a really, really great job. Yeah. I see there's a few people that have jumping in. New Zealand Rider, she's doing so well. Yeah, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch her go. I don't get to see her as much every week. I used to be in the agility classes with you, and I don't get to see her from week to week. So it's fun.
She's getting good now.
Absolutely, for sure. Shandy mentions.
She's getting trained now.
Shandy said that teeter is so fabulous.
That teeter-totter has had a lot of training, Shandy.
Yeah. Jacqueline Nelson. That gets you pumped up. Wow, very impressive. Yeah, and that's the general feeling. That's why I got into agility. It's like how exciting it is. The dogs are moving so quickly. It's just really exciting to watch.
A lot of dogs really, really, truly love it. Like she starts to whine when I pull into the parking lot of this building because she can't wait to get in here and play with me.
Yeah, for sure. Canine Chef just got here. Welcome to the After Hours Agility Show. Maria Brown. Our golden retriever pup is 5 months old. Watched every bit of this practice session very intently. Now, Kayl has that effect, that impact on dogs, and Shandy will mention. I think she maybe did mention earlier that when you, especially if it's loud enough for your dog to hear, and Kayl's out training her dogs. Even in classes, people
Kayl's don't like when I'm in classes.
So enthusiastic that their dogs pay attention to.
It's
to her.
Fun. People always say I hate training contacts. They're so boring. They're like my favorite thing to train. I don't know why. I think it's so fun.
So Lila has joined us. Welcome, Lila. I know she's often in our streams. So that I tend to get nervous even in class, trying to make sure my dog is perfect in things like start line, and he's more likely to break then. That's an important note.
That is very true.
She has a little
the dogs
bit more.
Can instantly recognize when we're like a little bit off or a little bit nervous, and some dogs will react to that in different ways. Like some dogs will react by going off and doing their own thing a little bit more. Some dogs will run really slow, even though they run quite fast in practice or in classes. Then when you go to a competition, they're very slow because they think, oh my gosh, like what is wrong with my handler? They're stressed or they're anxious, and that's not what you're like normally, and they can pick up on that. So you want to try to trial like you train and train like you trial.
Mm-hmm. And I meant Lilia. I know it was Lillian. I think I said Lila, but it's been a long time without sleep for me, and that's why we end up doing these after hours agilities on the Tuesday.
Yes.
So let's talk about, that's your prep leading up. That's also what you're doing immediately following a competition.
Yeah. So not like the day after. Like I'll give her, actually I probably would have given her today off as well, but because we had the live stream tonight, then I thought that it would be okay. And then I might do like a small training session tomorrow and then maybe take a couple days off. But I like to go back and like reinforce some of the things that that I want her to do. I'll do some jumping exercises as well when she has a bit more of a break. I'll show you some of the things that I do with that as well. But the other thing that I like to do is, like yesterday, like I said, I took her on a hike, and so she had like some free running. She wasn't like just locked up all day.
Right.
You know, she had a chance to like get out and stretch. At the end of the competition, I got her a massage. You know, and her muscles were just a little bit tight. Now, thankfully, she's young, and you know, she's still very early in her career and injury free, and you know, she's doing great. But all of these types of things will really help. I have I sound like a crazy dog person right now, but I actually have an ice coat for my dog. So I bring it with me in my trailer in my freezer, and I pull it out at the end of the competition, and I put it on her for 15 minutes so that if her muscles are swollen or anything like that, it helps bring that swelling down. Yeah, we do. I do way more for my dog than I do myself.
That's true.
It's quite ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think when you mention you sound like a crazy dog person, I think this is a safe place. We're in the trust tree.
I would do anything for my dog.
In after hours agility and in the train stations, because we're talking to dog people.
That's right.
So that kind of works out. I see a good question.
I'm in a safe space.
Yeah. For New Zealand Rider, as an absolute beginner to this with my first dog, where should I begin for agility? 16-week-old collie. There's no classes in my area. Oh, I can't see the rest of it. There's no classes area, but a couple competitions. Yeah.
So 16-week-old collie. First of all, your dog's really young, and it's great that you're having some goals in mind with the dog being this age. That's fantastic. But when you have a dog that young, the first thing that I would focus on, and what I focus on when I have dogs that age as well, is I focus on relationship building and control and obedience, so that my dog understands, you know, how to bring a toy back to me on command. They can focus on me around distractions. They can hold a sit stay or a down stay for length of time around distractions. I know all kinds of things that that you can do to build a relationship and control. I think one of the reasons why my dogs are so good at agility is because they have really good obedience. So they have really good listening skills. They, this sounds weird, but they know how to learn. So they have good problem solving skills, not from my agility training. Right. It's from my basic training that I do every day with my dogs. They have a strong recall. They're social around other people and other dogs. All of these things are things that allow you to have not just an agility dog, but a great agility dog. So that's what I would focus on. Of course, with a young puppy, things that you could do for agility. We do lots of trick training, teach them how to use their body. I like to do things like teach them to spin or back up. Of course, we have videos on the channel. Yeah, I think all kinds of tricks that you can do with them. But again, one thing that I think more people should be upfront about as far as the sport of agility goes is it is extremely difficult on your dog's body. So especially if you have a fast dog. So my goal is to care for Beeline as well as I possibly can, so that she can play agility injury-free for as long as she possibly can, which is why I do the training that I do to keep her, you know, doing things safely and controlled and fast, of course. And I'm taking care of her body and not doing 100 million repetitions and
100 million is a lot.
Yeah, you know, I try to keep it easy because I want her to have a longevity. So don't be in a huge rush if your dog's just a puppy. Focus on the obedience stuff, and then there's all kinds of online classes that you can do, but too early yet.
Yeah, so Melinda Miller's asked a question a little bit earlier, and it sort of lends itself well to this situation. Now it's too early yet. New Zealand Rider is going to, you really do need to focus on those obedience, listening skills, but you also need to have a dog who is in the right frame of mind when they're competing. And Melinda is mentioning that and I'll just pop this up.
Yes.
Just a reminder about my adrenaline question. I think you said you were going to talk about it. So she mentioned that her dog would bark at other dogs in the start line. And this is something, I mean, Deegan, when I brought Deegan, the Black Lab, over here, I was able to get through the first level, I think, of agility at that time. And then she got a little bit, I had to go back a step in terms of my listening skills, in terms of my obedience. And I spent an entire class, like an entire session, working on obedience stuff in the agility arena with other dogs moving around. Because I knew that sometimes you got to move a little bit more slowly to get there faster.
Yeah.
And I really want you to think about that, regardless of what your dog training is. Sometimes you just need to break things down for your dog. And I worked a lot on stationary exercises with her. But let's speak specifically to Melinda's question, where she's got a dog that's barking at other dogs.
I think that what's really important for us to recognize is that when a dog is repeating a behavior, whether it's good or bad, the dog is learning to do the behavior. So if this is something that is happening on a frequent basis or even infrequently, and the dog is getting reinforced in any way, whether you're doing it on purpose or inadvertently, you could be creating a bigger problem for yourself. So anytime you have a behavior that you don't want, you can go about it a couple ways. Number one is prevention. Don't allow the situation to happen in the first place. So that might mean that that dog's not ready to be on the start line when there's a lot of busyness going behind. There might need to be, only certain venues that you can trial the dog in based on what the setup is like, so that maybe there's no people and dogs behind them and the dog can learn to be in that environment and make really good choices. So prevent it from happening. Don't keep doing it if you can't do anything about it. The second thing is correction. So, teaching the dog that it's not appropriate to do it that way, but you certainly don't want to be doing that if you haven't had rep of the dog doing it successfully. Or maybe you need to set the dog up on the start line and have other dogs around, but maybe they're 50 feet away from the start line, and your dog is able to focus on you and do their job, and then progressively bring the distractions a bit closer. You might need to do this in a class setting or a private lesson setting, or get together with your friends and set the situation up. But you need to be able to control the dog. So if the dog is making a poor choice, maybe the dog should be on a leash, and you can redirect the dog when they make a poor choice. And of course, you can reward the dog when they make a good choice. But with teaching your dog to do anything, it doesn't matter whether it's, having some aggression issues, anxiety issues, blowing their contacts, missing their weaves, whatever it might be, you cannot allow them to do those mistakes too many times incorrectly. That's really, really important. You need to build on success, and then you need to proof the skills. Just because your dog can do it in one situation doesn't mean that they can do it in every other situation. So you need to be able to train through that.
There's a couple sayings that I really like, and they can be applied in different ways. So I guess they're a little bit inconsistent, but I like the saying, practice makes progress. I also like the saying, practice makes permanent. So whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, the more you practice it, that behavior becomes more and more permanent. So you really do need to be aware, whatever you're working on, that you're giving your dog great information, and that you're trying to set them up to be successful. If you go out and you're constantly, your dog's pulling you down the street all the time, and you're constantly like trying to use your leash and bring them back in position without good information, or without setting them up to be more successful, that's how your walks will turn out. If you have a dog who barks at other dogs as they run by, if you remain there, and after your dog's barked at the dog going by, hey, you knock that off or whatever, that's the behavior. It's immediately rewarding for your dog, and it can be really challenging to, you need to be more proactive. You need to put your dog in a position where they can be right, and you can reinforce them for that, rather than constantly being reactive. So I think, Melinda, maybe there's a distance, or there's a position that you can remain in when there's some dogs moving around, and you can reinforce, your dog not barking or making noise, or whatever the specific symptom is or sign is. But I think that's going to be good for your practice, and it's going to be really great for your relationship in the agility ring specifically. Fun matches are sometimes a great place to do that, to introduce the dog.
As long as you can control it, though. So, some people don't address issues. They just move on, and they don't deal with it, and that doesn't mean it's going to get better. So you need to prevent it from happening, and you need to correct it when it does happen, and show the dog what they should be doing instead.
I really like this question that Dan, the moderator man, asked, and I don't know how many experienced agility handlers we have on the YouTube side of the stream, but does anyone have any weird pre or post comp rituals? That's an interesting question. Do you have any weird pre or post competition rituals?
I do for when I go to World Championships.
Okay.
So one of them is that I wore this crazy bandana on my head when I won my very, very first World Championship. It was in 2006 in Holland with my dog Jitterbug. and I have worn it or had it on my body at every single world championship I've ever done ever since then.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I remember that, but I didn't remember.
So, and that's not always on my head because I don't necessarily want it to be around my wrist, or it'll be in my pocket, or it'll be around my ankle, but it's sort of like my good luck charm. And the other thing that I do, and this is really, really stupid, but, and this sort of goes to, I think, what Sue's about to ask, but if I'm feeling really nervous, I hum, I don't know what song it is. I think it might be Good King Wenceslas. That do 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 do.
That's a weird.
Is that Good King Wenceslas?
Ritual. Yeah, I think so. No, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think
Anyways,
so.
that tune, for whatever reason, so if I'm like feeling like my heart's starting to race and I'm like in the queue and I'm about to go in and I'm like getting crazy, then I will just like hum that, and it's so stupid. But I think because it's so stupid, it kind of makes me laugh a little bit, and then it relaxes me.
In just a moment, I'm going to.
My coaches even sang it with me in past years because they're like, "This is the most ridiculous."
In a moment, I'm going to bring up a question, but I wanted to post Shandy's. I don't know if it's weird, but right before we enter the ring, I bend down and whisper to her that she's awesome and I love her.
Oh, I do the same thing. I kiss B on the head before I walk away from the start line, and I say, "You the best girl. You the best girl," and I say it in that voice.
And she gives me such a hard time about throwing out my lucky underwear. I don't get it.
You don't have lucky underwear.
It's true. Sue Bricker. Oops, I didn't send it over. Give me 1 second, guys, and I will get this sent over if I can. I may have. This is where we've broken it. I have broken the live stream. Okay, so Sue Bricker asks, Kayl, do you get nervous at competitions? Not necessarily nervous due to the lack of ability or knowledge or skill, but heart racing, sweating, and her follow-up. Let's see if this is working. And if the answer is yes, how do you address the nervous symptoms?
Well, I just told you about that silly song that I teach, but do I get nervous? 100%.
Ode to Joy. Thanks,
to
guys.
Joy.
You guys are the best.
Thank you. What did I think it was? Good King Wenceslas. Is that it? That might be a Christmas carol.
It's late. This is after hours. We're teaching all day.
Anyways, Sue, I absolutely get nervous for sure. I don't know if it's nerves. I think it might be like, I guess it's nerves or like excitement, anxiousness. I actually, one of the reasons why I got a, these are not actual tattoos on my hand, just so you know. This looks like really like, they're like temporary tattoos that we put on our hands for inspiration on the weekend, but I just realized that it looks a little bit
prison tattoo.
Yeah, I'm like super rocking out right now. Anyways, gosh, I'm really jumping all over the place.
Okay.
Yes, I do get very nervous. Even this weekend, there was parts, where I felt a little bit nervous, that sort of uncertainty. And one of the reasons why I was showing you this, now that I'm remembering, is this Apple Watch, is because it takes my heart rate. So my resting heart rate is like 79 or 77 or something like that. And so often I will look at my heart rate just before I go in the ring, and it's usually like 110, 115, and I'm just standing still. But it's because I'm like, I'm so excited and nervous to go in. But I think that I'm one of maybe the lucky people, I don't know, where like that is like an adrenaline rush for me, and it makes me excited to go in. It doesn't make me afraid to go in. I'm not like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to get in there and like give this a go. Maybe that's like my competitive side. I don't really know. But I sometimes find that my mind is not clear if I'm like thinking too much about how I feel. Mm-hmm. So I try to just like take a deep breath and like get out of my head a little bit so that I'm not thinking about it so much. On the weekend when I started to feel nervous, because I'm not going to lie, I had a really good day on Saturday, and I was placed third with her going into Sunday, and I had told myself that like I'm not going to care about the placements. I don't really care how she does, but then I'm competitive, and part of me was like, oh my God, she could actually do well, but then I didn't want to put that pressure. So every time I would go in, I would just sort of say to myself, like, it doesn't matter. You have a baby dog. She's so friggin' awesome, and you love her so much, so just like, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to talk myself down a little bit, I guess. But yeah, I still feel nervous. But I control it, and I think it helps me.
I want to welcome Annette Bariza, I hope I'm saying your name right. Good morning from Latvia. Love your live streams. My puppy's finally waking up early enough so I can see you guys. Now, I'm going to, this is going to become a psychology stream, but I'll tell you something that's interesting when you mention that.
Are you going to tell me something?
You're one of the lucky people. We're going to all talk about it. This is After Hours Agility. We make up our own rules here.
With Dr. Steve.
So you actually shape that in your mind. So whether the symptoms of being nervous, the symptoms of being excited they're exactly the same.
Yes.
Same physiological response. It's all about how you frame it. Some of you guys might know, for the past 20 years I've been a firefighter, and I was a paramedic for 10 of those years. And people will often say, like, how do you run into a burning building? Like, why? Everybody's running it. Why would you, on earth, how can you be ready to go in? But through training, etc., I've created a response to that stimulus to be excited. So I was listening to this interesting ebook that talked about how people that were nervous about flying would go for therapy sessions, and anytime there was turbulence, their therapist would mention that they wanted them to say, "Oh, this is exciting." And all it takes is for you to use that word. So if you're nervous going into the ring, tell yourself, this is really exciting. And even if you don't believe it at first, through repetition, you'll start to shape that thought in your brain.
It's so funny that you say that, because I have literally said that to myself, or other people, like, "Oh my God, I'm so nervous." I'm like, this is so exciting. But I didn't even realize that was like a thing.
Right.
That's just how I felt.
Absolutely. And you can, because again, physiologically it's the same. So you can shape your response to that. So for you guys who are just getting into dog agility, think about the positive outcome. Think about, this is exciting. This isn't, don't think to yourself, this is scary, because it sort of gets you started off on the right foot or the right paw. Okay, you think she's recovered? We'll get into a little bit more training.
She's in a snuggle mode.
After Hours Agility is running a little long. We're moving into overtime. If anybody needs to go to bed, we get it. But for those of you who are late night After Hours Agility viewers, we're excited to have you here.
It's actually very normal for us to train at this time, because I usually don't train until after all my students go home.
Okay.
Do you want to play some Agilitas, beats?
Yeah, SD Cruiser. Yeah. That's why, absolutely, because we've just sort of framed it that way, and we're prepared. SD Cruiser says that one gets me. Why are the firefighters just walking around like nothing is happening? Yeah, it's just how you perceive it.
Do you think I could have been a firefighter, since I'm good in stressful situations?
Yeah, I'm sure you could have been.
I don't think
you probably still can.
I'm not strong enough, but I am. I somehow don't. I get calm in those situations.
Yeah.
My best friend and co-worker, Jamie, if she is watching this, is the opposite. She's terrible.
SD Cruiser mentions, would you rather emergency responders run around in a panic?
No.
You wouldn't want that. No, that doesn't sort of give you the sense of that you should be calm as well. Oh yeah, I get to use this thing. I'm so excited that this. Just as I go to say that, I'm going to bring us back. Let's see if this works. We're not totally broken. It's still working. We're good. Okay, so what are we going to do here?
Okay, I'm just going to show you 2 of my favorite jumping exercises that I do to teach her to be balanced. Actually, I'll show you 3. All 3 of these deal with collection. So if you have a dog that's a bit on the slower side, that you need to build up speed, none of these are a good idea for you. This is for the dogs that maybe are a little bit too overzealous, have wide turns, they need to be more thoughtful. Excuse me, that would be a bit better for you. So one of them is called Recall to Heel. Oh, she's gonna do some tricks too. Sit, and I use treats for this one. I don't use a toy. And you're going to notice that everything about this training is going to be way calmer than the last one. And this is usually what I'll do at the end of the night because it's not that strenuous. So I'm going to stand very close to the bar. I'm going to release her in a moment. And I want her to stop just in front of the jump. And I'm going to reward her. I have several pieces of food in my hand. And then I'm going to have her hop over the bar and land at my side. Actually, I'm going to show you this way because you're going to be able to see a little bit better. Okay. Yes. So that's step 1. Approach me, slow down. Now I want her to jump over the bar. Okay. Yes. And then I'm going to reward her. Okay. At my side. Okay, I'm going to go this way. Come here. Switch. Get back. Yes. Good girl. Wait. So what this is doing is it's teaching her to collect and understand not to cross my body line. It's also teaching her to learn to jump and turn over the bar, opposed to landing and making all of her turning on the flat. So I'll show you again. Okay. Yes, good girl. Okay. Yes. And I want her to land nice and light and fluffy. You'll notice that she's not hitting my legs. She's landing nice and soft on her feet. Okay, good girl. I'm going to do one more. Good. Wait. Now, one thing that she's doing really well is she's holding her start line very well. So this time I'm going to test her. I knew that was going to happen. So if she breaks her start line, I'm going to come back, sit. I'm just going to give her a little correction there. I'm going to lift up on her little neck there. Just a reminder to hold her sit. Yes. And then if she holds position, good baby. I'm going to come back and I'm going to reward her generously for holding position. Who is the best dog? This dog's the best dog. Okay. Yes, good girl. Okay. Yes, good. And then I would do all four corners, a little bit more balanced, but you can't see very well if I do the other corner. And then I'm going to show you another one that I do. And again, this is teaching the dog. So one thing that she struggles with is squaring up to take the jump if she's going to turn towards me. She prefers to slice across the bar. So I'm going to reward her. I'm going to go on the other side again. Okay. Staging. Come here, Bips. Staging. Wait. I'm going to send her around behind the jump, and then I'm going to square her up and reward her for setting her up. Moo, 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 moo. Yes, good girl. Okay, yay! And then I'll let her take the jump from there. Sit. Her command to square up is moo, 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 moo. I recognize that it's completely ridiculous, but I've been using it since my very first competitive agility dog, so I'm sticking with it.
Just before you go on.
Sit.
Sue Bricker asks, Kayl, are you training Beeline tonight at her competition height?
Right now I am, yes. She's a 16-inch dog. You don't have to, though. She's not tired. If she was tired, I might put it a little bit lower, but she's not. Okay. Moo, 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 moo. Yes, Miss B. Yes. Okay. Yay. Good girl. Okay, let's try this side. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Yes. Okay. Moo, 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 moo. Oops. Yes, there we go. I want her to be nice and straight. Good girl. Okay. Yay. Good girl. Okay, one more and then you're done. Come here. Wait. Okay. Yes. You are so smart. Okay. Yes. Good girl. Okay, that's good enough. Good. They're not very exciting, but they're important.
Okay. We'll head back over to the After Hours Agility Show.
Nice, calm.
Yeah. So I wanted to pull up Sue's thing because I appreciate it so much. Sue said, I love the setup you have with multiple cameras and the banners on the bottom. Transparent images on the screen. Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Sue.
Yeah, they're fun to make, and I want to make this show, as exciting and fun as it can be, and certainly as informative as we can possibly make it here. I took away our key light, so we're going to be a little bit darker. But if you guys have questions,
you look so handsome in this light.
Oh, thanks. It's not that weird light thing where somebody looks completely different in a different light. One thing I want you guys to do is, whether you're watching the replay or whatever, even on our videos, some of our pre-recorded stuff, let us know what you want to see in our live streams, because we do these for you, and we love hanging out, having these conversations, but sometimes we're not really sure, what you guys want from these live streams. So we will often come up with stuff directly from our comment section of our videos. We'll also create videos directly from the comment section of our videos, because we really want you to get the most out of it that you possibly can. Tonight we talked a lot about pre and post competition stuff. I know there were lots of questions about agility. I did want to answer. Alice McCord asked, what do you guys think of flyball?
I like flyball.
Yeah, let's talk about flyball for a second. We used to compete quite a lot.
Yeah, we used to compete a lot in flyball. Actually, my parents wrote the very first world rule book for flyball for the
many years ago
for NAFA. Okay.
Yeah.
They were undefeated for like 10 years straight, like way back in the day.
Well, one thing your dad wanted is we were going to put together a flyball Hall of Fame, or like a flyball historical
we have
thing.
the very first flyball boxes
Yeah, they're really
ever
cool.
were.
They're really, really
Yeah,
cool.
I played flyball for years. I stopped playing, I don't know, back in like 2014 or something like that, just because I was getting more serious about agility, and I didn't want my dogs to get hurt playing flyball and then not be able to play agility. But
There's only so much time in a day.
yeah, but I like flyball a lot. I love the competitive side. I love the team aspect of it, which you don't so much get as much in agility. Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm. Shandy says,
I like all kinds of sports, actually, dog sports.
Yeah, Shandy wants to see some weave pole training, and maybe that's in our next.
So
a month from tonight, 4 weeks from tonight, we'll be back in the agility arena. We'll be doing some after hours agility.
You could do some weave pole training.
I hope we helped you, understand how to prepare for those, whether it's your first dog agility competition or maybe you're a seasoned vet. Maybe you picked up some tips tonight. Is there anything we want to leave with on some note about preparing?
I don't know. I think we said
the pre and
it all.
post cool down. Okay. Well, you know what? That's the first time I've ever heard Kayl say that she's said it all. On that note, if this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every single week to help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. If you have your phone, click the QR code or check out the description. We have a link in the description below that you can join that free workshop. I can't wait to see you there. You can join our private Facebook group for the workshop, and it's coming out in just a couple days, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. On that note, I'm Ken. I want to thank you guys for joining our After Hours Agility. It's always a good time, and I want to wish you all well. Happy training, guys. Bye for now.